1 minute wall sit. Let's stand against the wall with your feet hip distance apart and just walk your feet forward until you feel like you can slide your body along the wall. Try to have 90 degrees at your knees. Your knees will be directly over your ankles. Spread your toes and lengthen them on the mat. And press your pelvis, your belly button, your ribs, your shoulders, and your head back to the wall. And let's hold here for a full minute, starting now. Relax your shoulders. I don't like to keep my hands on my thighs because then I feel like my quads are taking over. So you can bring your hands on your hips. You can interlock your fingers. You can make a fist as well, whichever feels more comfortable. Relax your shoulders and keep drawing your abdominals all the way in. Try to make it all about the feet and the core, not as much about the quads. Although the quads will take over for sure. We are halfway there already. Try to lengthen your toes on the floor and feel like you could push that floor away from you with your feet, and then push the wall away from you with your core, pushing that core all the way towards that wall. And just keep breathing. Take deep inhalation, deep exhalation. And we have the last 5 seconds, the last 4 and 3, 2, 1. And then bring the hands on the wall, push yourself off the wall and stand up. Great job. Lie down on your stomach. Stay with your feet hip distance apart and then bring your right hand underneath your forehead. Relax your chest on the mat and feel like you want to gently pull the stomach away from the t-shirt, away from the mat. Now straighten your left arm above the head. Keep your palm down towards the floor and try to keep your shoulders away from the ears. So feel like your neck stays nice and long. Then lift your left hand all the way up off the floor. Don't allow it to twist. And then reach with your left hand all the way up to the side and then above your hip, maybe even on top of your bum. Then lift your hand all the way up and then come back like you're drawing a rainbow with your hand. And we lift and then reach to your hip. And you lift up and then come back. Try to keep your chest nice and relaxed and try to lift that hand as high as you can. Let's go for 5 more of those. Inhale and exhale. And you inhale to lift, exhale to lower. Last 4. Last 3. Lift a little bit higher, opening your chest, up and around. Last 2. And lift even higher. One more time. If this is easy, you can add a couple pounds into your hand to make it a little bit harder. Over and then come back and then slowly release and switch your hands. Bring the left hand underneath your forehead. Reach with your right arm above the head and try to pull that belly away from the t-shirt. Lift your right hand up towards the ceiling and just hover off the floor. Then reach with that right hand up and around towards your hip. Make sure that your palm is still facing down the floor and your palm is facing the floor as you circle around and you lower down for 7 more. Inhale and exhale and make it all about the breath. Last 6, increasing a little bit movement in that shoulder. And lift. And we have 5 more of those. With the breath, lift and then reach. And you reach and release. Last 4. And then 3 and reach. Feel like each repetition is evolution of the movement. So you do want to reach a little bit higher, a little bit further out. And just 1 more. Lift up and around and release. Great job. Lay down on your stomach. Stack your hands, one hand on the top of the other, and relax either your chin or your forehead on your hands. Now bend your knees, open up your knees as wide as the mat is, and then squeeze your heels together. Try to find your pubic bone and keep your pubic bone heavy on the mat. So make sure that your pelvis doesn't lift off the mat. We want to keep your pelvis heavy on the mat and try to lengthen that lower back as well. So keep pulling the belly away from the t-shirt and have a sensation that your tail is pointing down towards the floor. Now squeeze your heels together and then see if you could hover one knee off the floor, one thigh slightly off the floor, but the pelvis will stay nice and heavy on the mat, and then lower down. Then hover the other knee off the floor, you'll lift, and then lower down. Bring one hand on your lower back, and then lift one leg up again, lift, 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 and notice that there is no movement in your lower back. We don't want to bend the back to lift the leg. The spine stays still, the pelvis is heavy, and we're just looking for that extension in the hip. And then lower, switch your legs, and then lower. If you can, try to do it with both legs. Hover your both knees off the floor, and then you lower down. Again, we don't want to have any movement in your lower back. It's just to hover those knees up and then down, and you will have a feeling that they're not really lifting very high. They won't go very high. So feel like the height is not the goal, but just to contract those glutes and your hamstrings to lift the legs and then lower down. Keep your core engaged. Your core should work as hard as you're working to lift those legs because the lower belly has to support that lower back. Let's go for 10 more. Either single leg or double if you can. Last 9. And then 8. Core is nice and strong. Last 7. And then 6. And 5. Such a subtle exercise, but it's such a great exercise. 4 more. Last 3. 2 more. 1. And then release. Stretch the legs away from you. Bring the hands on the side of your chest. Lift your chest up. Sit down towards your heels. Walk your hands to the right corner of the mat. Walk your hands to the left corner of the mat. And then slowly roll the spine back up. Great job.